And I saw that you auditioned for multiple roles on Gilmore Girls before you got the role of Logan. Do you remember who you auditioned for? Were they characters that ended up being on the show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't remember I remember one character I auditioned for, but that is interestingly enough a great transition because I auditioned, I think, for 2 roles before Logan, and that first audition I had, I didn't get it, but I had watched Gilmore Girls. I was familiar with, as you guys know, there's a specific cadence.
Oh, yeah.
It's a dramedy. It's a fast-paced thing. And if I had saw that on the page and not done my research and went in there and delivered a typical audition, I would have never been invited back. So I had put that work into understanding what the show was, and I didn't get that particular role, but they liked me and kept me in mind. I believe the first role I went out for was Marty.
Okay.
I think so. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. And I don't remember what the second one was. And then Logan was, over several years later. And that was something for me, again, having watched the show and thankfully Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino and the casting directors kept me in mind. I felt I had a beat on that character in terms of the way that I saw him was just being someone who's pushing Rory towards her adult life in terms of her career path and pushing her to take chances that normally she wouldn't, because Logan was such a risk taker that would be the interesting part about that relationship. And I know people have opinions on whether they like Logan or not, but for me, what I enjoyed about the relationship was he was a risk taker, she was not, and pushing her to try and be the best she could become personally and professionally. Maybe not always in the best way. They're stealing a boat together and he doesn't say no in that season, and so forth and so on. But that's what I connected to in the character on a deeper level. And I think that's ultimately what Amy appreciated about that essence of the piece that I was able to bring to it.
And you've experienced both being an actor before social media and now after social media is huge. And you mentioned, some people didn't like Logan, some people like other characters more. What was that like at the time when they were like picking teams? What was that like?
I almost feel like people pick teams like way later because when the show was out, that didn't even really exist.
Yeah, but I feel like now with social media, it's much more of a thing.
Totally.
Where people
and people watch the show again for the first time now.
Yeah, for me...
people yell Team Logan at you when they see you on the street?
Yes. Or tell me that they hated me, and for me, that just shows the passion of the fans. I mean, again, you talked from the beginning about somebody not wanting spoilers, and that show finished in 2007. So, I mean, for me, the fact that that's happening and I've been a part of that is very, very rare. So it's not so much to me about what team someone is on. It's about the fact that I do know that, especially a lot of mothers and daughters grew up watching that show on their couches, and I do know how passionate fans are about the show in general. So for me, it's about being part of that. And of course, Jared and Milo, knowing those guys and how we always cared for each other and we felt like we're a part of the same thing. So it never felt competitive between the three of us at all. It was more about being a part of
like
this
different
thing.
phases of Rory's life.
Right. And people are going to have who they connect to. I think ultimately it was just about being a part of something people are so passionate about. And I also understood that it was the Gilmore Girls, right?
Yeah.
It's about the two girls. So it's about people who love Rory. Who do they want her to be? Yeah. So it is not even about me. It's not even about Milo or Jared and those characters. It's about who do fans want Rory to be with. And I always understood that and love that piece of the passion that fans have as well.
I will tell you that, so I, like the first few times I watched this series, I was like, I love Dean. And I think it was mostly because I was young and I had a crush on Jared. like I was like, Dean is so cute. Like I love Dean. But then as I got older, I watched the show again And it was such a different experience watching it
that's
as an
interesting.
adult and being like, oh my God, Dean's kind of stinks.
Yeah.
And I was like,
interesting.
I don't really, I don't know if I like Dean. I've now firmly established I will be Team Logan probably forever.
And she's
Why
not
is
just
that?
saying that because you're sitting here. Because
No, I
we
really
were
had a
talking
debate
about this
before in the
outside in the
office.
office, and some of the guys were saying who are now rewatching it as well.
Yeah.
They said that they have also switched.
There's
to
a
Team
lot of
Logan.
Team Jess in the
Yes.
office, but they're people
Why
have more
is that?
towards Logan.
Why do you feel that way?
I just always felt like I connected with Rory in a way that like she was always kind of nervous to get out of her comfort zone and to do things that challenged her, and Logan challenged her in that way that Jess and Dean never really did. And I felt like it with Jess, she could have just fallen back into a very like kind of simple life. And I love that Logan kind of gave her more of a vibrance,
Thrill.
more of like a thrill that was just way more exciting. I didn't love every decision Logan made,
Right,
but
right.
in the long run, I felt like they made sense together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That again, you started with Rory and who that character is, and what did Logan bring out of her. And I think that if somebody does like Logan, they see that he kind of cracked her shell a little bit and forced her to do things she wouldn't normally do to better herself and her life. And I think that was what I loved about that relationship. And Logan as well. But Logan was young. He was unsure of his path professionally. Of course, we had some issues with other women. So there's a lot of faults with
Overbearing
that.
father.
Exactly, with that particular character. But I do think at its heart and its core, if you were going to pick a Team Logan, it would be because of that he pushed her to pursue life in a different way. I feel like different people we can in our lives come in for different reasons, and relationships especially, that they could even be 2 weeks or 6 months or whatever those relationships are. They can impact us in very important ways, and they come in at the right time. And I feel like kind of Dean came in at the right time, Jess came in at the right time, and Logan came in at the right time. That was right for Rory to make those changes in her life.
Definitely.
And of course, Gilmore Girls made its return to Netflix. What was that like for you when they reached out to you?
I was so happy.
Yeah, people were pumped.
Yeah.
It was kind of mind-blowing. I found out online, like everybody else, that it was coming back, and at first, of course, I didn't know if I would be asked back because I didn't know what the context of the stories would be. And then about a week or two later, Amy Sherman Palladino reached out to me and said, hey, you may have heard online, we're doing this thing, I want you to come back. And of course, immediately I said yes without seeing anything.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just mind blowing that 9 years, I think it was at that time, maybe, that it had completed. That there was room for more, and then it felt. I also, when I decided to do it, it felt like something the fans had always wanted, because Amy and Dan didn't finish that last season. Netflix provided a new avenue for Amy and Dan to both write all the episodes, direct all the episodes, and to finish the show in the way that they wanted to. And I think fans had always kind of wanted a Gilmore Girls movie for a very long time. So this Netflix happening and giving Amy and Dan full creative control, and the fans having wanted it for so long, felt like something very organic, as opposed to something that was a reboot that's a money grab or something like that. This felt authentic, and that's what it really made me excited about it. Whether you love the reboot or not, it was authentic because the creators got to tell the story that they wanted to tell.
That's
Definitely.
what I was most happy about when that did come out, because I was like, oh God, like don't ruin Gilmore Girls. But then when I saw that obviously Amy and Dean, everybody would be connected to it, I was like, okay, this is great, because I feel like whether I like it or not, this is how they envisioned the show ending. And it's over, but it ends on kind of a cliffhanger. I would say not a cliffhanger, but it's just
kind of
up for interpretation. Like you can, the viewer can kind of decide what they think happened. What do you think happened?
Well, going back first of all, I will. No, but going back to the fact that every single character who was a part of that show was on that reboot. I mean, I can't tell you how incredibly difficult it was to get all those actors
I
to do those
I remember
scenes.
seeing all this stuff about Melissa McCarthy, and I'm like, she's a ginormous star. They were like, how do we get Suki on the show?
Just the timing of things. You know, the Kirk character was great. He was doing Guardians of the Galaxy at that particular time. I was doing The Good Wife. I mean, I did, working out just my schedule alone with shooting in New York and then coming to LA and shooting The Good Wife, trying to get off from The Good Wife to do that was insane. And then you magnify that by every single character that was on there. That's really special that everybody was able to be a part of that, and it was incredibly difficult. And then back to the original question, you know, Amy and Dan, they did tell me what at that particular time was the intention of those last 4 words, and even at that time they had said, you know, tell whoever you want with that. And I've never said anything about that because I feel like if Amy and Dan want to say that, they would, or if it comes back, maybe it would change. Or to the more of the point, I've never been one who's loved spoilers. For me, I love that it's not wrapped in a bow. I love that it's open to interpretation. And I feel like that was their intention of how to finish it. And so I want to honor that. And if they ever want to say, you know, what their intention was, they can. But I enjoyed the fact that it was open to interpretation.
Right. And I feel like that makes it like happy for everybody because you can just
you can
believe
decide on
whatever you want.
Like I personally
100%.
choose to believe that it's Logan's baby, and Logan is kind of like Rory's Christopher, and like maybe Jess comes back in, but Jess is kind of like the Luke character, and it all just kind of comes full circle.
Yeah, and see, that makes you happy.
And that's how I go to sleep at night.
It's a kind of choose your own adventure book that you have there for sure. I mean, regardless, it does come back full circle. That's for sure, because obviously with that relationship of the mother-daughter and Lorelai and Rory being the central characters, and now Rory's pregnant and having that conversation with her mom. So I look at it, for me, why I loved it, regardless. It's, again, the show has always been about those two characters, so it doesn't matter who the father is. What matters is those two. So how I go to sleep at night, they come full circle because that's the show, is Gilmore Girls. So for me, it's not about the guys. It's about them.
I love how much you respect the fact that it's the Gilmore Girls. It's about them.
It is.
There's
a
very funny podcast of guys who, have you ever heard of it? That the Gilmore guy, I don't know.
Yes.
If it's
Gilmore
called
Guys?
I forget what exactly it is called.
Guys love
but
Gilmore Girls.
It's just a bunch of like dudes
Yes.
breaking down every episode of Gilmore Girls because they love it.
No, I'm familiar
And
with
that came out like fairly recently, obviously, because it wasn't on, podcasts weren't happening when the show was on TV.
It was before the reboot.
Yeah.
No, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
And again, that just speaks to the passion for whatever reason. That, I mean, there's so much content out there now. One of the producers for The Resident, when we started, was like, okay, so not only are we up against, you know, whatever's on in our time slot, you're up against every show ever made.
Right.
Because you can go to Netflix, you can go to Hulu.
Like, you don't have to
HBO,
HBO, Disney, they have it all now.
You can watch Cheers and Seinfeld or whatever, Friends if you want to, versus The Resident. And so to have a show that like Gilmore Girls or The Resident lasting 3 seasons, like we talked about, that's very rare because there's so much content out there. So it's pretty special that thing stuck around.
Yeah.